You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
An on-location edition of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com arrives mid-December. It's winter meetings time across the world of professional baseball in the major and minor leagues. And hi, everybody. Welcome in. I'm Tyler Bond. Sam Dykstra in Orlando, Florida at the 2017 baseball winter meetings. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Tyler.
How are things?
Good. Florida is nice. The winter meetings have been good so far, insofar as, you know, everybody's gathered together, and it's good to have all the baseball community together. And I walked past somebody wearing a Salt Potatoes shirt the other day.
Nice.
Which is not, like, in my head, I was just like, oh, that's an awesome shirt, until you realize if you're ever going to see somebody wearing a Salt Potato shirt, this is it.
Yeah, that's the place where it would be.
Right. So there's still a lot of that. You see a lot of people wearing minor league gear, a lot of them because they work for that organization. They want to rep that club. So it's really neat to see everybody together, put some faces to names, that kind of thing. But otherwise, it's kind of been a dead winter meetings as of right now. I mean, we're recording this at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. We're going to get this out a day early on Wednesday, earlier than we normally do, because we don't want it. You know, this is when we could record, and we don't want things to get dated very quickly, as can happen at the winter meetings. But as things stand, no major trades have gone down this year as in years past, like last year with Chris Sale and Adam Eaton. So maybe they'll be coming fast and furious, and we certainly do have things to talk about, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, this has not been your typical winter meetings by any measure, at least from a prospect standpoint.
Salt Potatoes, by the way, that was Syracuse's What If Night from, I think, last August. The Syracuse Chiefs went as the Syracuse Salt Potatoes, which sounds very bland, but also salty, maybe probably delicious. You know, I don't know. Never been there. Never had a salt potato. Maybe they're great. Who knows? Just
I haven't either.
Two very basic staples, salt and potato. So we'll get into three strikes here in a second from the winter meetings in Orlando. But thanks for tuning into the Show Before the Show this week. Wherever you found us, you can subscribe to the Show Before the Show and give us a rating and a review and a subscription on iTunes, Google Play, the Stitcher app, and elsewhere. This is what are we at now? 138, I believe. For
138, yeah.
138. Holy cow! It's ridiculous. But yeah, do that. Give us a rating and a review and a subscription. I was just distracted by looking at salt potato stuff. I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second. Because the Salt Potatoes logo has a pat of butter on top. You would think the salt would be more emphasized than the butter, but I don't know. I don't know how this goes.
The salt is implied, Tyler.
Don't worry about me, Syracuse people. Yeah, it's an implied salt. So thanks for joining us this week. And with that, let's get into three strikes for episode number 138. Two big things right out of the gate. Number one, baseball has a new top prospect heading into the 2018 season, and that is right-handed pitcher / outfielder / DH / international man of mystery Shohei Ohtani, who surprised a lot of people by signing on December 8th with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And over the last 2 weeks, I just want to point out, since we had Michael Hermosillo on the show, the Angels have signed Kevin Maitan, who was the top prospect placed back on the international market after the Atlanta Braves punishment, and Shohei Ohtani. So not saying that it's all due to us, but saying that it's all due to us. You can thank the three of us, me and Sam and Michael. This is a big deal. Obviously, the Angels, for whatever reason, came across to Shohei Ohtani as the team. He was very particular about the type of fit that he wanted to find in a major league organization. It didn't seem like it was going to make a lot of sense for Ohtani to end up in the National League, where he wouldn't have the opportunity to be a designated hitter. So it looked with that like maybe the Mariners were going to be the team for him. The Rangers were making a push. Obviously, they've had some success with guys like Yu Darvish coming over from NPB in Japan, Nippon Professional Baseball. But at the 11th hour, the Angels end up winning this sweepstakes. They had $2.315 million left in their international signing pool for 2017-2018, and Ohtani selects that team. That wasn't the largest amount of money that was left among teams bidding for his services. The Mariners had, I think, a little bit over $3.5 million that they could have offered as far as the signing bonus went for Shohei Ohtani. But for Ohtani now, he is the top prospect in all the minor leagues. He's number 1 in the top 100 in MLB Pipeline's new rankings at the conclusion of the 2017 season. These are kind of interim rankings. They're the finish of 2017 rankings, but now with Ohtani thrown in there for his projected 2018 look, they'll reorder somewhat going into 2018. You would think by opening day we might see a jumble, but Ohtani is going to be the unquestioned number 1 regardless. Sam, your thoughts of this? That really came as a surprise, I think, to a ton of people, but it seems like a very good fit. The Angels have already said Ohtani's going to serve as DH a lot when he's not pitching. It'll be interesting to see how he's worked into that role. They still have Albert Pujols and that contract on that roster, but ultimately right now he is still a prospect coming into that system.
Yeah, this really took me aback when it happened. Not because it was leaked or anything. It came out through his agent. His agent just basically announced, like, we are signing with this team. Usually it's the other way around. The team will announce that the player is signing. But with everybody on their toes, last week he narrowed it down to 7. He had interviews with all 7 teams pretty quickly. We knew the Angels were on that list. They tick a lot of boxes, like Tyler said. But in terms of looking at the opportunities he had, the Angels either seemed middle of the pack or not necessarily as exciting as some of the other clubs. Obviously, they're good. Getting the chance to play with Mike Trout, you're going to take that any day of the week. They traded for Justin Upton last year. They signed him to an extension, avoiding what would have been an opt-out for him, eliminating the opportunity for him to become a free agent this offseason. They have Cole Calhoun in the outfield, so if Ohtani was going to become an outfielder, this did not seem like the place it was going to happen. Whether that was ever going to happen with any club or not will remain in a what-if discussion. But by choosing the Angels, he makes this team so much more exciting. And I'm more excited almost for the Angels than I am for Ohtani. Getting the chance for Trout to play on a team that not only, is he the most exciting player in the game automatically anyway on opening day, but now he's going to be playing aside a talent in Ohtani that might be number 2 at this point, just because obviously there's so many questions about him. How is his game going to translate and all that? But because he's somebody we really have not seen enter the game in this way in a very, very long time, with the potential to impact the game in the way he can either way. People who talk about his fastball say it's elite stuff. He's going to hit 100 fairly regularly. Not, in a Aroldis Chapman type way, but enough to make you raise your eyebrows. Some people who talk about his splitter also call it a forkball, say it drops out of nowhere. It's going to have guys swinging left and right. That'll be fascinating to see. His power is going to play regardless. I'd love to see how his hit tool is going to do against major league pitching, but for a guy who bats from the left side, makes the Angels lineup that much more interesting. How they're going to get him into the lineup is going to be, fascinating. As you mentioned, Albert Pujols is basically a de facto first base or designated hitter because he's kind of statuesque at first base now at his old age, and he's not that great of a hitter anymore, which is really sad to say. But he's certainly not worth the contract, but they still are paying him a lot of money. They're still going to want to get him as many at-bats and a chance to turn that thing around. But they also have CJ Cron, who's going to be playing first base. So how that's going to work itself out, I don't know. Obviously, the Angels pitched Ohtani in a way that made him think this is going to be fine. I'm going to get to do everything I want. But to have him choose them out of it, the Mariners seem like they're on the cusp of really contending, and he would have certainly put them over the top. Plus the fact that they gave him more money, or could have given him more money. They made lots of moves to take on more international money. Jerry DeVotto certainly seemed confident that all that was standing in the way of him and signing Ohtani was simply just cash. Then to see that work out or not work out in their favor was really fascinating. And some of the other clubs, I think the Padres would have been really interesting, as I think I said last week, in terms of he could really kickstart their build to contention. And especially being so cheap and with all the pieces that are coming along in their way, with Fernando Tatis Jr. probably going to be major league ready next year. There's rumors that they may be signing Eric Hosmer. To put Ohtani on top of that would have put them over a hump, which would have been really interesting. But, the Angels, they're going to be competing with the defending world champs in the Astros. And now they have what might be the best arm in that division. Adding him to a group that already has the best bat in that division. Now we're going to be talking about the Angels as serious contenders in ways that we wouldn't necessarily have a couple weeks ago. Add the Maitan signing on top of that, and the Angels are eating up a lot of this news cycle, which is really, really fun from that aspect because they're eating it up in a positive way in which they didn't the last couple off seasons. And I'm really fascinated to see what other moves they're going to do going from here, because you can't just add Ohtani and say we're good now, we're going to win 95 games. There's still a couple moves that they need to make. So what decisions that front office makes going forward is something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the rest of the offseason.
It has been a fun couple of weeks to be an Angels fan, which is probably the first time in a while that Angels fans have really felt that way, at least in terms of the excitement that this engenders for 2018 and beyond for Ohtani and for Kevin Maitan, who is, still obviously a work in progress behind him, but that system has gotten a whole lot better and the organization got a whole lot better over the last couple of weeks. Strike two this week, Sam. The other big domino to fall this week at the winter meetings. Our headline at MILB.com, because we have to focus on the prospect side, seems so man bites dog in a way, in that the headline is Marlins get Guzman and Devers for Stanton, which is not the big headline coming out of this deal. It's our headline because we're focused on the prospect side of this, but Giancarlo Stanton is the story of this week in the winter meetings in Orlando. The New York Yankees acquiring the 2017 National League MVP from the Miami Marlins. There are a ton of discussion points about this from the standpoint of Derek Jeter trading the best player in the National League to his former organization. Giancarlo Stanton apparently staring down a bluff from the Marlins saying you're either going to go to the Giants or the Cardinals or you're going to go nowhere. And then he was traded to the New York Yankees. But from the prospect side of this, the Marlins get back a couple of interesting talents, but also show that this was not a move about rebuilding the farm system. A talent like Giancarlo Stanton could theoretically bring in one of the biggest prospect hauls we've ever seen. They get two prospects in Starlin Castro. They get right-handed pitcher Jorge Guzman and shortstop Jose Devers, who is the cousin of Rafael Devers on the Boston Red Sox. Two really good talents, but for Giancarlo Stanton, certainly looks like a lopsided deal if he is able to do what he's able to do in Yankee Stadium that he's done for the Marlins over the last several years. The deal maker in this case is the Yankees willing to take on so much of that contract.
Yeah, so Stanton is owed $295 million over the remainder of his contract, which is obviously no small pennies. He's signed technically through the 2027 season. He's got a 2028 option. There's an opt-out after the 2020 season, which makes things fascinating. He still technically could use that, so you got to kind of include that in the calculus. But according to all the reports, is that the Yankees were willing to take on $265 million of that contract. So the Marlins would essentially only be on the hook for $30 more million. And in so doing that, assuming all that money, they weren't going to pay as high a price in players. That's sometimes how this works. A lot of people forget, that there's a lot of economic decisions that go into this. If it was just straight up trading players for players, the Yankees system would probably be decimated right now, because in order to acquire a talent like Stanton, you need to give up a lot. But this is a business. The Marlins have had this new ownership group led by Derek Jeter, who is the CEO of the Marlins, has decided they're going to be cutting a lot of salary. And a big way to do that is to get rid of Stanton's contract. The unfortunate bit is that it seemed like this was a very public negotiating ploy, and we know that the Giants had a package that was accepted, and we know that a Cardinals package was also accepted. Like you said, Tyler, and Stanton acknowledged this yesterday, both teams went to him and said, we'd love to have you, we'd love to talk to you, and he to his credit, he went and talked to both teams.
Yeah.
Just wasn't a match there. The four teams that he told the Marlins he would accept a trade to, because he did have a full no trade clause. Where the Yankees,
those teams were not among them. So that's something to keep in mind. Stanton gave the Marlins four teams. The Marlins came back to him and said, all right, none of those. How about these two?
Yeah. The four teams were the Yankees, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and the Astros. Obviously, Stanton wants to go to a winner. those are great places to go if you want to win right away. He signed with this big contract with the Marlins because he thought the Marlins would be a winner, and that's not the direction they're going right now. They're obviously going for a rebuild. So lots moving in here. If you're a Marlins fan, you were probably saying, okay, if we're going to sell Stanton, at least we're going to get a lot back. It doesn't look that way on its face. I just had a story today that I think kind of leads into a subplot involved with this, in that, so you mentioned, and I think a lot of people do focus on this, it's the fact that Jeter's, one of the first major trades he made as an owner of the Marlins was to the Yankees.
Right.
And
the optics of it are not great.
The optics are not great. That's a great way of putting it. It doesn't look great on its face. But again, Stanton is the one who kind of controlled this. If the Dodgers, Cubs, Astros had come together with a package as good as the Yankees, maybe we're talking something different here. But this is a team that Stanton wanted to go to. Also involved here, when Jeter took over, he hired two guys from the Yankees, both of which who worked in player development. Dan Greenlee, who is now the director of player personnel for the Marlins. He was an analyst in the player development system with the Yankees. And Gary Denbo, who was director of player development for the Yankees, now is director of player development and scouting for the Marlins. Both guys obviously know the Yankee system incredibly well. There's probably two guys who don't know more about the Yankee system on the planet than those two. And now they're working for the other side. So they essentially got to pick which prospects they got back. I'm sure they were asking about Esteban Florial, Justice Sheffield, all the big names we know, Chance Adams, Gleyber Torres. But again, because of the money involved, those guys weren't going to be in play. So they ended up with Guzman and Devers. I talked to Dan Greenlee this afternoon about why they took those guys. Guzman might be the hardest thrower in baseball right now, and I don't say that with hyperbole. He averaged 99 miles an hour on his fastball last year. Basically, nobody does that as a starter. Chapman does that as a reliever. Guzman does that as a starter, which is fascinating. He spent all of last year at Class A short season Staten Island. He had come over to the Yankees in a deal involving Brian McCann with the Astros. He had a 2.30 ERA, 88 strikeouts, 66 2/3 innings. Certainly the performance to match up the stuff. Still some questions about how he's going to handle a full season workload. He has not hit 100 innings yet. He hasn't pitched at a full season affiliate. He'll be turning 22 in January. So, still some question marks about him, but his stuff is as good as you're going to find anywhere. The only reason he's not a top 100 prospect right now is because of some of those questions. And Devers is the bigger question mark for me. He, like you said, he's the cousin of Rafael Devers, so he has some intrigue in terms of name. He's not at all the same prospect. He played this year in the GCL. He's an advanced runner. He stole 15 bases in the GCL this year in 42 games. He's an impressive defensive shortstop. His cousin is an adequate defender at third, if that. So this is a glove first, run first type player. The bat is still coming around. He only hit 246 with the 707 OPS. When I talked to Greenlee today, he said they're really excited about what happens with him when he starts to fill out. Right now, he's listed at 6 foot, 155 pounds, only 18, just turned 18 this month. So there's still lots of projection left with him. They think he can become a good bat in time once he adds some strength. But the fact that the two former Yankees execs chose these two Yankees prospects, I don't think can be overlooked. And, this is the start of a Marlins rebuild. They're going to have to add a lot more to this system. And that might come in way of trades involving Marcell Ozuna, Christian Yelich, all that. But, these are just two pieces that have to be the start. They cannot rebuild a franchise with just these two guys.
And if you're a Marlins fan, our condolences. Giancarlo Stanton even said yesterday in his press conference, hang in there, but if you're going to watch, maybe watch from afar. And it's got to be frustrating. But the way this deal went down was so interesting and odd because the stories that came out from Giancarlo Stanton made it sound like Derek Jeter really never had a second thought about trying to build around Giancarlo Stanton. It was more, we're going to rebuild, we're going to be dumping pieces. If you'd like to stick around here for the rebuild, we'd love to have you, but if not, we're going to ship you out. And from Stanton's point of view, it was, he said, I thought our lineup was legit. If we invested in some pitching, I really felt like we could make some noise. And basically management told him, no, we're not going to do that. Derek Jeter didn't get in contact with Giancarlo Stanton after taking the job, which I know people found very curious and strange. Derek Jeter, this week, the big deal is that Jeter was caught last night on camera at Monday Night Football rather than being at the winter meetings. He was in Miami taking in the Patriots-Dolphins game, so the optics of that don't seem very good either. So a strange week for the Marlins, kind of punctuated and maybe embodied by the fact that the Marlins Twitter feed has gone entirely silent over the last 4 days or so. It's been just a series of retweets. They have yet to acknowledge even that trade of Giancarlo Stanton. They actually did put out their own tweet today, which said, quote, live from the winter meetings, it's an all-new episode of the Hot Stove Radio Show. Hear the latest from Marlins President of Baseball Operations, Mike Hill. But no acknowledgement of this trade. The last tweet that they put out before that was about another trade. The Marlins sent D. Gordon to Seattle for Nick Neidert, Chris Torres, and Robert Duggar. Neidert and Duggar both pitchers, right-handers, and Torres an infielder. But kind of another strange saga in the organization that is the Miami Marlins. And with that, we pivot to strike three because the Marlins have made it very obvious that 2018 and beyond, they are an organization in full rebuild mode. We are now getting signals and reading some tea leaves for other organizations that seem like they might be in that same boat. The Tampa Bay Rays have a lot of intriguing pieces that might be on the block going forward, whether it's Alex Colomé or somebody like Chris Archer or Evan Longoria, guys who have been big names, who have contributed, especially in Longoria's case, to those contending teams, those fun teams that have made the playoffs and made some runs in Tampa. But the Rays could be a team that's big in selling mode. We're also hearing the Baltimore Orioles apparently are at least letting teams kick the tires on Manny Machado, which is somewhat surprising, I think, just in that you looked at Machado as a corner piece type of guy that a franchise builds around for 10 or 15 years, and it doesn't feel like Machado, he's been in the big leagues longer than what it feels like, but it doesn't feel like that's really been the case yet with Baltimore. It almost feels like a team that's still waiting to hit its stride in a lot of ways, but that's a team that made the playoffs for 3 or 4 consecutive years, didn't make a World Series, now is looking at what the future will bring in Baltimore. So what is the landscape like for those two teams, and who else could be in that pattern of following this selling trend, Sam?
Yeah, it's really interesting to look at this AL East. This past year, the Red Sox won 93 games. The Yankees won 91. Yankees certainly surprised by doing that. They add Stanton. They're probably the favorites in that division now. We'll have to wait to see how Dave Dombrowski's going to respond, because everybody assumes he's going to respond with some big signing, whether that's JD Martinez or Eric Hosmer. But what does that do to the other teams in that division? The Rays were 80 and 82 this year. If you're that close, you are that close to being 500, and they have some interesting pieces, you would think they might go into a mode of, let's try to sign as many as we can. Let's try to, find some cheap options, that kind of thing. But all indications that we're seeing are that they might go into sell mode, trade Evan Longoria to a team looking for third base help. Alex Colomé is probably the most likely to be dealt of that group. He was their closer, and teams looking for relief help. That's always going to be a theme of the winter meetings. And then maybe dealing a starting pitcher, whether that's Chris Archer, who I think, you look at his strikeout numbers, they're really enticing. And I certainly think of him first as an ace. His numbers don't really back that up of being like a number 1, number 2 starter. He would be a good number 3 starter on a contending club, but not quite the ace that we're all thinking he might be. Or Jake Odorizzi, who's that solid number 3, number 4 starter on basically any team he goes to. It seems like the Rays are going to really start selling. And if they do that, I think they might have one of the bigger or the quicker rebuilds we can think of. This isn't going to be like a White Sox type rebuild where, okay, it's going to be like this for like 3 years, or the Padres rebuild, which feels like it's even on a longer track. The Rays have some really interesting pieces that are already knocking on the door. Brent Honeywell is going to be a major leaguer next year, barring injury. and he's got a chance to be a really, really good one. Willy Adames is going to be a major leaguer next year, and he has a chance to be a really, really good one, whether that's at shortstop, second base, what have you. Jake Bauers is another top 100 prospect who helped Durham, win a AAA title this last year. Those are 3 top 100 guys right now who should be able to help the big league club next year. Jose De Leon's also on that list. He's got some injury questions, probably not a top 100 prospect anymore, but he has to be included in that. Brendan McKay, a current two-way star. The Rays have been saying that they're going to continue letting him be a two-way star. He's a college player, so he has a chance to go quickly. The Rays are certainly thinking about all this. They're including it in their plans and all that. But if they are to become big sellers, don't necessarily just sell on them now as a club and as a franchise. I would love to see what kind of talent they get back. And if it's a lot of AAA talent, a lot of AA talent, you could see them competing again right back in it by 2019.
It's interesting this time of year. There's a lot of storylines that just kind of pop up that make you think, oh, yeah, I didn't see that coming, but now this all makes sense. And it's been fun to watch, even just through the first couple of days of the winter meetings. We're recording this on Tuesday, hence the reason why you're listening to it possibly a day early if you discovered that we put it up on Wednesday. But already a packed couple of days down there in Orlando, Florida for the 2017 baseball winter meetings. And that'll do it for 3 Strikes this week. Sam on location, grabbing interviews for us this week, grabbing interviews plural for us this week. One you'll hear today and one you'll hear next week. Set us up for this one, Sam.
Yeah, so this one was a lot of fun. There was on Sunday, I got here Sunday, and they had the MILB banquet that night, and they usually give out a bunch of awards. And they have the Chief Bender Award, which is basically for somebody who's been in player development for a long time, has really impacted player development. That was given to A's special assistant to the GM, Grady Fuson. And, if you might recognize the name Grady Fuson. If you do, it's because you've either read the book or seen the movie Moneyball. And he actually played the villain role in Moneyball. Not him particularly. There was an actor who played him, but he's comes across in that movie as kind of the old fogey scout. He's actually fired in the movie, which wasn't true. After that season in which Moneyball is based, he went to the Rangers, and that's because he was offered basically a leg up. He became almost assistant GM and basically GM in waiting in Texas. So he did leave Oakland, but it wasn't unnecessarily terrible terms. He eventually went from Texas to San Diego, and now he's back with Oakland. He had a little bit of a tempestuous relationship with Billy Beane, but he said, as you'll hear in the interview, Billy was the first guy to call me back. Once he knew I was on the market again, they love having him around, and so that's why he won the Chief Bender Award. He was nominated by the A's. Minor League Baseball hands it out. But actually, when I congratulated him on that, and we were about to set to do the interview, he says, "Actually, is this for the Chief Bender Award or is this for the Scout of the Year?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I was just named Scout of the Year as well."
Excuse me, Mr. Awards.
I know. So it was a big week for him. Two awards, both at the same time. You'll hear him talk a little bit about that, what that means. And hopefully you get to know him as something other than that Moneyball guy, because he's definitely not that. He'll talk about using numbers and, all that kind of stuff. But also what I hope comes across is he was smiling through the whole thing. The guy could not have been prouder for the way he was rewarded this week, and that definitely comes across. So without further ado, here's Grady Fuson of the Oakland A's. What does the Chief Bender Award mean to you personally?
It's really gratifying. I mean, I've kind of one of the rare guys in the game that have been involved in both sides of it for so long, and to be considered and nominated for it was shocking. Mm-hmm. The award itself hasn't been around all that long, maybe 10 years.
Right.
So, it was short of 10 years, I think 2008. So to receive that was something that I had no clue about. So shocked and honored, and it's a great list of guys that have been on there, and I know a lot of them. So
right.
It was impressive.
Yeah, and then Scout of the Year, obviously kind of similar.
Yeah.
I think Chief Bender has a little bit more to player development, but to have them both happening at the same time.
Yeah, especially on the same year. And,
right.
and to get both.
Right.
I'm not sure that anybody in the game's ever received both of them. So. So quite flattered and excited.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, you spoke last night about being in the A's organization for as long as you have. Took a brief period in there with the Rangers and the Padres. But what has this A's organization been like for you over the last 3 decades?
Simply home. I mean, I was born and raised there. As a young scout, as a young coach, as a young manager, I developed my path upward there. I was given so many opportunities, to be the national cross-checker, to be the scouting director, and to come back, after 9 years away. Mm-hmm. The sense of tradition, legacy, and loyalty that I think Sandy Alderson created and Billy Beane established. Mm-hmm. I think if you remember, I mentioned a little bit about that table over there that's just loaded with people that have worked here for 15 to 50 years. Mm-hmm. Steve Vucinich, who I missed because he was sitting at a different table.
The table wasn't big enough, I guess.
50 years. Well, he was sitting with a new era guy.
Fair enough. Right.
He's been here 50 years.
Yeah.
Been the clubhouse guy for 50 years.
Right. So, what was that conversation like with Billy when you were coming back? Did it feel like a relief that he would? Because I think I read somewhere he called you, or did you call him? How did it look? What was it like coming back?
Well, one of the more sensitive things is when I resigned in Texas in 2004, Billy Beane was the first guy to call. Said, I want you back. And I took it slow. I waited, things were in place in Oakland still, and I took my time. And fortunately, I had the opportunity to go to San Diego for almost the same kind of job. San Diego's where I was born and raised.
Right.
I knew Kevin Towers very well. I thought that would be a good fit. Mm-hmm. When John Moores had to sell the team and Jeff Moorhead's group came in, Kevin got let go, I got let go, a few other people got let go. Billy was the first to call. Mm-hmm. And, those things, for a person like myself who morals, loyalty mean a lot, I mean, it was time for me to go back. So, all the years with Billy and the crew and working with Keith Lippman and Eric Kubota, who was my assistant at one time, basically took over as a scouting director when I left. There's people there that I still today that I actually hired back when I was a scouting director. So Chris Pitaro, Billy Owens, those guys have been there. Mike Holmes, I drafted. He's our national cross-checker now. And so it's just a very comforting, great place to work.
Mm-hmm. And what type of evaluator, how have you kind of changed between your stints? Like, what did you take from your time with the Rangers and Padres? Kind of been able to implement?
A lot. I've always said you could be in this game for 70 years, you're not going to stop learning. Not if your eyes are open. The game's come a long way. There's more innovation in the game. There's a lot more analytics in the game, and it takes time to stay up with all that stuff and feel where you feel right about the acceptance of where you're going to use it, and how you're going to use it. But that's time. That's just time, and 36 years. There's a lot of things have changed, but everybody has a different view on, is it change for the good? Is it change for the better?
Right.
Is it not change anything? But you never stop learning. So I've learned numerous things every place I've been.
What's something you feel like scouts do now, like across the board, that they would never have thought of to do 35 years ago?
Oh, I think once they're on the field and they're looking at players, that part of watching a game, breaking down a game, it's similar. The hardest thing for area scouts today is they're asked to do a lot more external work. The filming of players, the keeping up with this and that, and all the little things. There's times where it's hard to actually scout the player. They got a camera in their eye that they have to do a lot. But as far as what goes on at the ballpark, no, I don't think things have really changed that much. Guys are bearing down. Guys are breaking things down in their own skill level and their own ability and putting it into a report form. And there's a lot more communication up and down the scouting chain today than there ever was because of the invention of cell phones and everything else in the computers. So it's easy. It's much easier in today's world to stay on top of your scouts and their players than it was 30 years ago.
And through your time, either as a cross-checker, scouting director, anything like that, which find are you most proud of in terms of bringing talent?
Oh, man. I don't know.
Or there could be a list of them, really. I mean,
I don't know. If you want to talk about the first rounders, Barry Zito. We were picking, I forget, 9 or 10 in the draft, and I'd known Barry. I'd seen Barry in high school. I'd seen him as a freshman. I'd seen him as a sophomore. Saw him in the summer. And I don't think anybody in the game really considered this guy a first-round pick at the time. He had changed schools every year. He went to Santa Barbara out of high school. Then he transferred out of there, went to Pierce, JC. Then he went to USC. And I remember roaming the country as a scouting director trying to find 9 guys that I would be happy with in the first round, and I was struggling. I was just having a hard time.
Right.
And the 4 or 5 that I liked, I knew somebody was going to take them in front of me. And I just got to a point where I said, there's some pitchers out there that are in this mix that I've just never seen them do back-to-back what Barry Zito does. He might not throw as hard as some of them, but this guy out-pitches them all. And my pitch to ownership at the time, Billy, Sandy, was that, hey, I'm not sure I'm giving you an ace by taking this guy, but I'm giving you a guy that may come quick and pitch in the middle of the rotation. Well, hell, he won the Cy Young.
I was going to say, he was the definition of an ace for a while there.
But at the same time, I got a good price for Barry because I got his agent to understand if I don't take him, where's he going to go? Where is he going to go?
Right.
And the finances worked out. It allowed me to sign another player that I had under control, Gerald Laird.
Oh, okay.
And I needed extra money. I needed that money to.
Right.
So it was a business deal that worked out for all parties involved.
Yeah, for sure. And this was obviously an important year for Ace Scouts too, with all the trades that were happening between Sonny Gray and the Nats trades.
Yeah.
Some of the guys you got brought back, a lot of people agree are top talents, whether Fowler, Mateo, Caprillion. What are you guys seeing out of those guys who are just entering, half a season now?
In my opinion, we have made the biggest turnaround in a farm system in the last 2 years I might have ever seen. We kind of got a little lean. 2014, 2013, had some draft picks that didn't turn out, picked down lower, traded some good players when we thought we had our act together. 3 years ago when we thought we had the club to go do it, when we made the Smargila trade, the Lester trade.
Yeah.
So we gave up some good players in that deal, and that really thinned out our system. And then we had some things that just didn't pan out. 2015, we were weak. We were not a strong farm system, but in the last 2 years, we've made a recovery by some draft picks, some trades that have put us kind of back on the same map that we used to be, say, in the 2000s, where we have a competitive major league team and we have depth in the system.
And one thing that's worked out really well these last couple of years, with Thiele, Chapman, Olsen this last year, is just power. Is that just you guys have had the right group of players to turn into powerful major leaguers?
Well,
or is
you named a group there that probably came out of the same draft. The Addison Russell, the Maxwells, the Olsons. We had traded Danny Robb. Chapman was a first rounder a year or two later. Those things have just hit. They've hit well, and it was something that this organization was lacking. If we didn't have power, we didn't have patience. If we had a little patience, we didn't have any power. We were athletic for a while, but we couldn't hit. We started to hit, but we became a little unathletic. So now if you look at the club, we're starting to put some things together. Fowler might give us the most legit athletic center fielder we've put in the Coliseum in the last decade, maybe.
Right.
I'm not saying he's Coco Crisp, but, with the whole ball of wax. We've kind of been hurting out there for a while. Chapman, this guy's Gold Glove caliber. Olsen is Gold Glove caliber at first. So looking at our defense is catching up with our offense, and now you just got to look at our starting pitching, which maybe we don't have, quote unquote, the ace that just stares at you right now, but we have depth. And hopefully, maybe one more trade, maybe another development of a puck or something like that comes quick, or maybe one of the guys, Megden, Cotton, maybe these guys step up and somebody becomes the anchor in that rotation. Depth is not our problem with our rotation. It's the top end of, where they may end up.
Yeah, and you mentioned defense in there. I got to ask about Barreto, where you kind of see him slotting in eventually. Everybody says it's up the middle somewhere. It's just where is it going to be?
You could probably ask 5 of us with the Oakland A's, and you might get 5 different answers. My personal opinion is he's a second baseman. Okay. Not that he can't play short.
Yeah.
We've talked about loosely that, depending on how Mateo grows, he's coming quick.
Right.
Is Mateo the shortstop of our future? We kind of think so, at least when we went through the trade.
Mm-hmm.
But Barreto's athleticism and everything, he could be versatile enough to do other things. So, we'll just see. We got time. We got another year with Jed Lowry, and he's still banging at his age, and keep him healthy, and he's a pretty good second baseman. So we'll just see where it ends up.
Mm-hmm. And what do you feel like Barreto has to do at AAA then to kind of force the issue?
I think he's got to take one more step with his plate discipline, just improving the day-to-day quality of his at-bats. And then if he does have a chance to stay on the left side of the infield, the arm's got to take a tick up for accuracy, not arm strength, just accuracy. And that comes, footwork, rhythm, all these things get built. And, people sometimes forget how young a kid this guy still is.
Right.
And so.
And then just to kind of wrap things up, the way this week has gone, obviously two awards, the way this season's going to go, this offseason's going to go. A lot of people are still going to remember you as the Moneyball guy. Obviously, you've done plenty to turn that around in the years since that. But how much does that recognition mean even more just to get you?
This will be the most special non-field work or anything, but this will go down as the most special week probably in my career. Mm-hmm. Not only to receive both the awards, but I'm getting to that milestone of 30 plus years and to receive these 2 awards and to have all these people with Oakland be there. Mm-hmm. I've seen these awards given out and maybe 1 or 2 guys come by with their club, but Billy and David made it a special move to have all these people there last night and again Wednesday night. And even some guys that usually don't come to the winter meetings are coming here. So their support, their friendship, for them to be there, it's pretty special.
Yeah.
Well, also down in Florida, along with one Sam Dykstra, is one Benjamin Hill. And as we previewed last week on the Show Before the Show podcast, Ben and Sam in the same room, now in an entirely different state. The magic of podcasts and the internet and Skype and microphones. And hi, Ben.
Hi, Tyler.
Magical.
And hi, Sam, who's sitting next to me. We are in Sam's hotel room. It is the Beach Club Hotel. And I'm staying at the Yacht Club.
Okay.
I'm just more of a Yacht Club kind of guy, but I went over to Sam's territory for this taping, and we are in the Beach Club. And Sam's room is very beachy. There's an umbrella set up. There's like a bucket of sand.
Actually, there is no carpet. It's just all sand.
Yeah, it's all sand. I mean, this is the magic of Disney.
Wow.
I've got my toes in some nice wet sand as we do this podcast. Just imagine all your dreams coming to life, and that's what's happening right now at the Walt Disney World Resort, the Beach Club.
Yeah, I'm in my home office. It's just about as exciting, obviously.
Man, I'm sure you're doing just okay, man.
You're doing fine.
You guys don't have carpet, you have snow.
Yeah,
so.
Actually, it's been like in the 60s and 70s, and it's doesn't make you worried about the condition of the world at all. The way the winter has gone so far. It's not officially winter down there. It's never winter. You guys get to have fun 24 hours a day when you're down. Well, and it looks like it's been great too. People are posting pictures of the fun run and all this stuff in the Swan and Dolphin Resort, and it seems like a lot of cool stuff. Before we get to full-on winter meetings talk with Ben, there's a couple of rebrands that we didn't get to last week and this week. One of them that came out late last week and one of them early this week to kick off the winter meetings. Let's start at the AAA level in the Atlanta Braves organization, a system that has long been noted for the fact that the parent club owns a lot of the teams underneath it. All but one minor league affiliate, I believe, in the Braves organization are owned by the Braves and all called the Braves, except for that one that is not owned by the Braves, which is the Florida Fire Frogs in the Florida State League. But now the Gwinnett AAA franchise has broken that mold, and oddly enough, Gwinnett went with a team that was not a team name that was not among the finalists that was announced for that team name back in July, which included, I think, 6 different names: Buttons, Gobblers, Hush Puppies, Lamb Chops, Sweet Teas, and Big Mouths. And now they're the Gwinnett Stripers. None of those names. So, Ben, give us the lowdown on this.
Right. The Gwinnett Stripers era has begun. That was unveiled last Friday. And you're correct. That was not among the named team finalists, but what was one of the ones you just named, Big Mouths. And Big Mouth is a reference to the bass fish. Lake Lanier is nearby Gwinnett, where the Braves play. Gwinnett County. The Braves play in Lawrenceville, Georgia, within Gwinnett County. So Lake Lanier is nearby. Bass fishing is a big thing in Lake Lanier. And the team said, we're going to do Big Mouths, the Gwinnett Big Mouths, and, going with the fish branding and specifically the bass branding. And, I talked to North Johnson, the team's president and GM, and he said, we were totally on board with this idea, but then the more we said Big Mouths, like the less we liked it, literally saying it. He said it's a mouthful, if you will. Just answering the phone, Big Mouths baseball. Let's cheer on your Gwinnett Big Mouths. And it's hard to say. I mean, think about it. Have you ever said Big Mouths a whole bunch of times?
No, yeah, that is.
You
it
have?
doesn't
Ty-
roll.
you-
No, I'm just
Tyler
saying.
has.
No, I'm saying you
Most
said
of us
it's.
have it.
No,
Most
you
of
said
us
it's hard
have
to say, and I was saying, yeah, it's hard to say. Like mouths as a word is not easy, which is ironic, seeing as how that's where the word comes from. But mouths alone is not easy to say. Big Mouths. Plus, I know that there was actually like a relative. I mean, there's always a freak out when the name the team finalists come out for minor league teams. But there were a couple of comments on stories from back then where people apparently from that area were actually very adamant about the fact they're not called big mouth bass, they're called largemouth bass in the first point, which, there's some creative license taken there, but didn't seem super well received in the first place.
I mean, these things rarely are, as we all know.
Right.
Very rarely well received in the early going. And so Gwinnett threw a curveball, chose Big Mouth, then unchose it, and then unveiled Stripers, keeping with the bass theme. Designed by Brandios, not surprisingly, as they've done most of the new logos over especially the last 3 years, especially. And check it out. They have green pinstripe jerseys, but the primary logo does still have blue and red prevalent, referencing the fact that they're still owned by the Braves. And, in talking to North Johnson, that's something he told me, like, in terms of they had been lobbying for a name change, I think, internally for quite some time with the Atlanta Braves organization, saying, like, look, we're owned by you guys. We have the same name and we play in your market, and we need differentiation there so people know that, when we're talking about the Braves or when we're talking about our team, it's not the Atlanta Braves. It's something totally different. So that's what this accomplishes, and that's why finally an Atlanta Braves-owned team has gone to a unique identity. It is a unique moment in the history of baseball, folks. The Gwinnett Stripers have arrived.
Not only that, obviously another team, a couple levels down, Class A advanced level, Tampa, also rebranded this week. They announced it on Monday, which was interesting because they didn't do it at the winter meetings, but they did it in the middle of the winter meetings. They go from being the Tampa Yankees to being the Tampa Tarpons, which is another fish rebrand, but also going away from the parent club. Obviously, the Yankees work out of Tampa. During spring training, they have a home there. They have a presence there, but now they're going. The Class A Advanced Club is going back to the Tarpons. What can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds? We had Gwinnett going from the parent club name to a new fish identity on Friday. And then on Monday, we had Tampa going from a parent club identity to a fish-themed identity on Monday. So we have 2 new fish in the sea and 2 less. I mean, I didn't even think about that one. It was so easy.
I thought you were going to make a fishy joke. It's a fishy coincidence is what I thought you were going to say.
No.
I'll be the one to do it then.
Okay, you do that, Sam. And so here we are. We have 2 new fish in the sea, as I said, in the minor league sea, and 2 less teams named after their parent clubs. The Tampa Tarpons there had been about 30 years of Tampa Tarpons baseball from the 50s through the 80s. So they're hearkening back to an identity they previously had as a franchise years ago before the Tampa Yankees were established. And so, again, they want a unique name, but they also didn't go too wild or, over the top. These logos are designed by Studio Simon. Not Brandiose, but Dan Simon is Studio Simon, always does great work. You can see his work throughout minor league baseball.
Also
Florida
did Hudson
Fireflies.
Valley a couple weeks ago, correct?
He did Hudson Valley a couple of weeks ago, yeah. In the Florida State League, he did Florida Fire Frogs last year. Or wait, am I getting confused? I may be. I don't think he did Florida Fire Frogs. I'm sorry. But he did Daytona Tortugas in the Florida State League. There we go. I'm back on track. So welcome to the Tampa Tarpons and the Gwinnett Stripers. We got 2 new fish, and I just keep repeating myself, man. What's going on here?
Well, tell us about the start to the winter meetings from Benjamin Hill is a celebrity among celebrities at the winter meetings, but this year you get down there on Saturday, correct? Then everything kind of opens up officially on Monday, but there's stuff on Sunday, the business of baseball. There's a banquet on Sunday, and then on Monday the true opening session. Run us through these first few days for you.
Yeah, I'm a unique media member here at the winter meetings, kind of just tracking my own things, independent from player movement and prospects and what have you, like every year. So this year I came in on Saturday. It's the earliest I've ever come in for the winter meetings, and the purpose of that was to speak at the Business of Baseball workshop on Sunday. And, I was at that Business of Baseball workshop to kind of tell all these job seekers what minor league baseball is about. And to do that, I shared, highlights from my 2017 travels, very similar to my promo seminar presentation. But that was great. Great to meet a lot of the job seekers. Great to share whatever it is I was able to share with them. Then we have the banquet on Sunday night, so things really get kicked off there. Give out various awards, and everyone eats food, and it's like, hey, we're at the winter meetings and we're at Disney World. Let's do this thing. Opening session on Monday, highlighted by Pat O'Connor giving a speech, president of minor league baseball. It's kind of the State of the Union address, and that kicks things off for real. Then some Bob Frida's business seminars and small group workshops, and everyone's got meetings. On Monday, I ended up talking to Brian Gundell, who designed the winter meetings logo, with wizards and wands and kind of a Disney referencing Fantasia theme without being Disney. Gotta respect the copyrights. But I know there's a lot of logo heads out there, so check out my story on milb.com for the story behind the winter meetings logos. You cannot get this kind of stuff anywhere else. Actually, you can, but you can get it very few places, and I'm one of them. So, and then today, I was the only man at the Women in Baseball leadership event, which is a annual gathering. This is the 10th annual one for women in minor league baseball front offices and Major League Baseball front offices to share their stories. And I didn't stick around for the whole thing, but I've got an article on that event coming up very soon as well. And it was cool to sit in on that event for a little bit. Sam Ryan was the keynote speaker, sports journalist, talking about her influences, and it's a unique event. And when I left, these women, all the women attendees were sitting at all various tables, and they were having roundtable discussions about all sorts of different issues. And I imagine it's a really good networking experience and a good sharing experience. But at that point, I was literally the only man there, and I said, that's enough of this for me. I didn't want to encroach on anyone, so I left. And then I said, hey Sam, let's do the podcast. Actually, he said that to me, but here we are, and we're doing the podcast, and here we are at the winter meetings. It's a whirlwind, and more of that tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday for those keeping score at home from the point that I'm speaking. Check out Facebook. Check out Facebook Live. We're going to hit the trade show, myself and our colleague, Twitterless Danny Wild, and do a live video from the trade show. And even if it is already passed by the time you've heard this, it will be archived and available for you to see, checking out all the vendors of the trade show, hopefully having some fun with it, and giving you guys a glimpse into what the trade show is. A massive one-stop shop for all your baseball needs, your baseball industry needs, here at the winter meetings in Orlando.
And as you kind of talked to people around, as you met with team officials, minor league officials, all that kind of stuff, I know most of it's social and just saying hi and catching up with people, but what has been different about this winter meetings, or what kind of themes or that kind of thing have you been able to get from these winter meetings as opposed to last year in DC or years past?
I would say very little. I would say the winter meetings stay very similar in overall structure and tone. Of course, there's different things you might be talking about related to different things that might have just happened. But no, I don't think that 2017 winter meetings from an industry perspective is all that different from DC in terms of the conversations I'm having, the people I'm seeing, the general tone. There's a comfort in that. The winter meetings you see it is the premier time, obviously, for everyone who works in baseball to see each other. So there's a lot of just talking, a lot of getting caught up, a lot of say, how you doing? Like, shrug, same old, those lame conversations. Not because the person you're talking to is lame, but how do you sum up your life just so quickly? If anyone has advice on how to do that, please help, because I just kind of shrug and say, oh, still doing this. I still alive. I mean, what do you say? Help me out here. Anyone who can help me. Twitter at Ben's Biz.
So what else is, aside from Trade Show Live? I mean, the last couple of days, everything explodes with such a flourish the first few days of the winter meetings. The way that it winds down is kind of a little bit, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but it leads us into one of the deadest periods of the offseason from the business standpoint. What are the final touches like at the winter meetings?
Well, tomorrow night is the gala, and that's a great event to hit open bars and hors d'oeuvres and network one last time. And then you're right, Tyler. Things have been busy the last couple weeks, but October and November are pretty dead in the world of minor league baseball. They heated up briefly, and then we're probably going to go into a little cold period for the next couple weeks with the holidays coming up. But then I promise everyone, it's going to be hot. It's going to be on fire. Minor League Baseball 2018.
Logo-cember. Logo-annuary.
Loganuary is coming up. Loganuary is coming up. Get psyched for all the best logos of the first month of the year. Loganuary. Catch the fever. Hashtag Loganuary.
Get pumped. He's Benjamin Hill. You can find him on Twitter at Ben's Biz. The blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com. And again, if you're tuned in on Wednesday, you can go to Facebook. You can find the video, the live show from the trade show at the 2017 baseball winter meetings in Orlando. Thanks, Ben. Have fun.
Hey, it's been my pleasure. And, Sam has his own lifeguard in this room. So
Man! Wendy Peppercorn?
Yeah, he's like swimming right now. Yeah,
nice.
I drown in my sleep.
Yeah.
That's a real possibility.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. We all saw Inception.
Yeah. So this is wild. So Sam, get out of the water, and you got more podcasts to do.
Yeah, Sam. Well, that's going to do it for our winter meetings edition of the Show Before the Show, episode number 138 from MILB.com. What else are you doing while you're down there?
Yeah, so I have the big thing on the minor league schedule every year at the winter meetings, which is on Thursday is the Rule 5 draft.
It is indeed. It is,
so if you're listening to this over the weekend, know that the Rule 5 draft has not happened yet.
Nerdy prospect Christmas.
Yes, it's a lot of fun just because guys get major league opportunities when they were obviously shut out from their 40-man rosters from their own clubs. It's a real fun concept. It's not something that would otherwise exist. It doesn't exist in other sports. Obviously, the minor league structure doesn't exist in some of these other sports as well. But to get an opportunity to play for a big league club, to be chosen in this way is a lot of fun and a lot of fun to cover. So I'll be doing that on Thursday. But tomorrow, Wednesday, is the last day of the winter meetings. A lot of these guys will be together in one place for the last time. So trades could happen fast and furiously tomorrow. I'm kind of hoping they will. Like we've said, as much as has happened this week, not a lot in terms of prospect movement directly. So I'll be excited to see which teams are going to officially become sellers and who's going to be buyers and what player prices they're going to be paying. So yeah, keep an eye out on the site if you're listening for this on Wednesday, but definitely check on Thursday to see how the Rule 5 draft went as well.
It is coming up, big week across the baseball calendar here in mid-December, as random as that is every year, where it kind of just feels like we have this mad rush. All of a sudden, then everybody's like, all right, we'll see you after the new year. Just kind of shut it down for a few weeks across the world of baseball. We don't, of course. We got all kinds of stuff coming up to the site over the next few weeks. We're wrapping up Organization All-Stars from 2017. We're getting into our feature stories for 2017. I've got a series coming up that I'm very excited about, but my first feature in that series has been pushed back, so I'm going to tease it but you won't get to read it for a
Are
little
you
while.
going to tease the topic?
Yeah, why not? I'm going to do stuff on uniforms in the minor leagues. I'm one of those weirdos. I'm a uniform and logo nerd, as I know has come across a few times on the show. But I am going to be doing a couple of features on various things about uniforms in the minor leagues, some interesting relationships between teams and certain uniform manufacturers, and just stuff about various uniform items, I guess. Characteristics, themes, maybe.
I was going to say paraphernalia.
Paraphernalia. Why not? That works. Yeah, so that'll be coming up. But this week, I'll have a story on Sheldon Duncan, the new manager of the AA Jackson Generals in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, who's kind of rocketed up through that system. He started in 2015 as the manager of the Class A short season Hillsboro Hops, was there again in 2016, Class A Advanced Visalia this year, AA next year. Sheldon Duncan is still in his late 30s, so it's not like a baseball lifer who is, in the middle-aged portion of his outside of baseball life. This is a guy who's climbing really, really quickly in that system, which we've seen a lot of guys in the Arizona organization. J.R. House comes to mind, who's a field coordinator now in that system. They've done a really good job with their minor league managers, and Sheldon Duncan's a really fun guy to talk to and kind of got his perspective on what that's like to have such a frenetic pace to start his managerial career. So that's up on the site as of Thursday. And yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff coming to the site over the next couple weeks from now until the holidays. So wherever you are, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. We'll wrap up the winter meetings, Rule 5 draft, all that kind of stuff. And Sam, enjoy the sunshine and the orange juice and the alligators and whatever else they do down there.
I'm 2 for 3 so far. I won't tell you which 2.
Okay, that works. All right. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Mon. We'll talk to you next week.